All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into something truly wild time travel.
Time travel.
But, and here's the kicker, not the kind with, spaceships and wormholes.
Right.
We're talking about the story of KFK, this mysterious figure who appeared online back in 2019 claiming to be a time traveler.
Oh, yeah.
From 2060, no less.
From the future.
And get this, their alleged mode of transport was, wait for it, pure consciousness.
Yeah, that's where things get really, really interesting, this idea of consciousness as the vehicle for time travel.
Yeah, so no physical body, no DeLorean.
No, none of that. KFK claimed to be traveling as a data stream.
Okay, hold on, a data stream.
Yeah, basically experiencing the past without a physical body.
So like a ghost in the machine kind of thing.
In a way, yeah. And this actually sidesteps a lot of the paradoxes that we usually associate with time travel.
Right.
Because if you don't have a physical presence in the past, you can't really, accidentally erase yourself from existence or anything like that.
That's true. No grandfather paradox to worry about.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
If KFK is just information, just a data stream, how did they interact with people back in 2019?
Well, that's a good question. They appeared on a Chinese social media platform, Douban.
Yuban, okay.
And there's this one kind of strange detail they always posted in traditional Chinese.
Oh, interesting.
Even though Douban, most people on there use simplified Chinese.
Right.
KKK actually claimed that they could have chosen any language.
Oh, wow.
Suggesting that there's maybe some kind of customizable interface for this time travel experience.
So it's almost like choosing your avatar, like in a video game, but for the past.
Yeah, exactly.
That is pretty wild. Okay, but hold on. What's the point of traveling through time if you can't actually do anything? Like, can't grab a vintage bottle of wine, can't stop any major disasters.
Well, KFK claimed there were some limitations on what they could reveal and that they couldn't drastically alter, individual destinies.
So no lottery numbers.
No, they specifically said no lottery numbers.
Okay.
But they did offer some predictions about the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
The classic time traveler move, drop some predictions, get people talking.
Exactly.
So give us the highlights. What did KFK say is in store for humanity?
Okay, so some of them were actually surprisingly mundane.
Okay.
Like the decline of Apple, which, considering how they've been doing lately, maybe not that far-fetched.
Yeah, not too out there.
But then there were some other predictions that were a little more out there, like a surge in 3D printed housing
Okay.
and interactive gaming, which, we're kind of already seeing a little bit of that.
That's true.
And then a big one, a shift from materialism to spirituality.
Oh, interesting.
After some kind of global upheaval in the 2040s.
Okay.
And this is a really interesting one. Robots gaining legal rights to marry.
Hold on. Robots getting hitched. What is the logic behind that?
So KFK suggested that it was actually a way to kind of limit the power of AI
Oh, interesting.
by introducing, concepts like gender and reproduction to create a controlled system of growth and evolution within their society.
So not building Terminators, we're playing robot matchmaker.
Okay. It's a very different approach, isn't it?
It's an interesting strategy for sure. All right, back to the predictions. Did KFAC mention anything about, wars, pandemics, other, big events that could potentially wipe us all out?
Well, they claim that there wouldn't be any major wars until 2030.
Okay, so a little bit of a reprieve.
Yeah, but after that, things get a little messy.
Oh, no.
Local conflicts, natural disasters, and ultimately World War III in 2048.
2048, okay. World War III, so not a great picture. And where did they say this epic showdown will take place?
The crossroads of 3 continents, Asia, Europe, and Africa. They said all the major world powers would be involved. The U.S. and Israel teaming up against China, India, and the Middle East.
So basically everyone's invited to this apocalyptic party. Great. Did KFAC offer any advice on how to survive this global meltdown?
Find a suitable place to settle inland, far from coastlines, which, according to them, are going to be devastated by natural disasters and the war.
Okay, so head for the hills, stock up on canned goods, and maybe brush up on those robot matchmaking skills. Got it. But, how do we even know if any of this is legit?
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? There's no concrete proof to verify any of KFK's claims. But even if it's an elaborate hoax, it still forces us to think critically about the nature of time, reality, and the possibilities of the future.
Okay, fair enough. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that KFK really is a time traveler from 2060.
Okay.
What are the bigger implications here? I mean, does this mean we're all just living in a giant simulation?
Well, that is one of the most intriguing questions that KFK's story raises, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they can interact with us as a data stream, could it mean that we're already part of a vast simulated memory database, like some kind of like cosmic hard drive?
Whoa.
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
That's a lot to process. It's like the Matrix, but without, all the leather and kung fu.
Exactly. KFK's claims really challenge our understanding of reality, what we perceive as possible.
Okay, so we've got time-traveling data streams, robot weddings, a potential simulated reality. Anything else we should be aware of before we move on?
A few other interesting tidbits, like, for example, Bitcoin, gone.
Oh, wow.
Paper, scarce resource.
Really?
Public transportation will be free,
Okay.
but fruit and milk, incredibly expensive.
Wait, free buses, but no affordable cheese. I don't know about that trade-off.
It paints a rather strange picture of daily life in 2060, doesn't it?
It really does.
They also claim that a third-party country will reveal what really happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. Free buses, but no affordable cheese. The future is a strange place.
It certainly seems that way, according to KFK.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into KFK's story.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored their claims of consciousness-based time travel, their predictions for the future, and the mind-boggling implications of their existence.
And in the next part, we'll delve even deeper into, the potential truths and fabrications within KFK's narrative.
We'll examine the scientific and philosophical underpinnings of their claims and explore what this all means for us here in the present.
So buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. Picking up where we left off, it's worth noting that KFK actually claimed they weren't the only time traveler out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they mentioned two others, one from 2075
Okay.
and another from 2062, both supposedly from the Far East.
Oh, right. I think they were referencing like YG in 2062.
Yeah.
Those other self-proclaimed time travelers who made some headlines with their predictions, I think mostly about Japan.
That's right.
So we've got a whole time traveler community out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a secret online forum where they all hang out and swap stories?
Well, KFK didn't really go into specifics about that.
Okay.
But they did say that while most of what YG in 2062 predicted was true,
Mm-hmm.
they also kind of sprinkled in some what they called white lies.
White lies. Seriously. If you're going to time travel, at least be straight with us. What's the point of all this if they're not giving us the unvarnished truth?
Yeah, it does make you wonder about their motives, doesn't it? Like, is there some information that's just too dangerous to reveal? Or maybe they're bound by some kind of time travel code of ethics?
Yeah, okay, I guess that's possible. But, I mean, if we're talking about ethics, shouldn't they be, I don't know, try to stop some of these disasters instead of just dropping like cryptic hints about the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. But maybe intervening directly would, I don't know, create even bigger problems. Or perhaps they're just limited in what they can do. We don't really know. It's all speculation at this point.
Okay, fair enough. So let's dive back into some of KFK's predictions. They mentioned some like pretty major societal shifts, right? What's the deal with this whole global move towards spirituality they keep talking about?
Right. Well, they seem to believe that by 2048, humanity would have a very, very different understanding of the world.
Okay.
One that's less materialistic and more focused on the non-physical aspects of reality.
Mm-hmm.
They even said things like, magic, the supernatural, ghosts, gods, all that stuff would no longer be considered mysterious after 2050.
Hold on. Are we talking about a world where, like, everyone's suddenly casting spells and communing with spirits? Sign me up.
Well, probably not that literal. It's more likely that scientific advancements and a deeper understanding of consciousness could lead to explanations for phenomena that we currently consider, supernatural.
So instead of Harry Potter, it's more like we finally figured out how the brain works.
Exactly. KFK's claims kind of suggest a future where the boundaries between, science and spirituality become blurred, where what we once considered mystical just becomes part of our everyday understanding of the world.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty fascinating. But let's get back to like the practical stuff for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Did KFK mention any everyday changes we might see in this future?
They did say that paper will be scarce by 2060, like physical books will become collector's items.
So all those dusty old books in my attic are going to be worth a fortune. Awesome.
It's possible. They also mentioned that public transportation will be free in this future.
Oh, okay.
But fruit and milk will be incredibly expensive.
Wait, free buses but no affordable cheese. That's a trade-off I'm not sure I'm ready for.
It does paint a rather strange picture of what daily life might be like in 2060, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. Okay, so let's try to like put all this together. If we take KFK's predictions, at face value, what's the overall timeline we're looking at here?
Right. So, based on what they said, it seems like the next decade or so will be relatively peaceful, with the focus still very much on material pursuits.
Okay.
But then from about 2030 to 2050, things get chaotic. War, disasters, and this global shift towards spirituality. Right.
And then after 2050, we enter this, new era where technology is advanced, society is drastically different, and many of the mysteries of the universe are seemingly unlocked.
Wow, it sounds like a roller coaster ride.
It does, doesn't it?
So should we be preparing for this by learning to code, stocking up on canned goods, and maybe starting a meditation practice?
Well, I mean, those are certainly some options, but I think the most important takeaway from all of this, regardless of whether KFK's claims are actually true or not, is the importance of being adaptable, open-minded, and resilient in the face of change.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. But let's be real here for a second. How can we possibly know if any of this is true? I mean, there have been so many, so-called time travelers throughout history, and most of their predictions haven't exactly panned out. What makes KFK any different?
You're absolutely right. There's always the possibility that this is, an elaborate hoax or a creative work of fiction.
Right. But even if that's the case, KFK's story is still incredibly thought-provoking. It challenges us to question our assumptions about, time, reality, and the future.
Yeah. It's like they've thrown down a gauntlet, daring us to consider the unimaginable.
Exactly. And whether we choose to believe their predictions or not, the very act of contemplating these possibilities expands our horizons.
Yeah.
It makes us look at the world around us with fresh eyes.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I think we need to address the skepticisms that a lot of people are going to have about all of this. It's natural to be skeptical of extraordinary claims, especially when they involve, time travel and simulated realities.
Yeah.
So what if we entertain the possibility, just for a moment, that KFK is telling the truth? What are the implications of that?
Well, it would certainly turn our understanding of the world upside down. I mean, it would mean that our linear perception of time is an illusion, that consciousness can exist independently of the physical body, and that the future in some form is already predetermined.
It's like all those, like, sci-fi movies we've seen suddenly become potential documentaries.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
It forces us to, confront the very nature of reality itself and grapple with the potential for realities that exist beyond our current comprehension.
Okay, we've definitely given our brains enough of a workout for now.
Indeed. In the final part, we'll continue to explore the intricate claims made by KFK and delve into the scientific and philosophical implications behind their predictions.
And we'll consider what it all means for us here in the present. So stick around, there's still much more to uncover. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into, well, the enigma that is KFK. So far, we've covered a lot.
We have.
Consciousness-based time travel, robot marriages, global upheaval, and a mass spiritual awakening.
A lot to think about.
But before we wrap things up, I think it's worth, taking a closer look at that last one, the spiritual shift. It seems like a pretty significant theme in KFK's whole narrative, right?
Yeah, definitely. KFK really emphasized this need to shift our focus, from material possessions to something deeper. They suggested that this kind of inner transformation would be essential for navigating the turbulent times ahead.
Okay, but what does that even mean, practically speaking? Should we all, ditch our smartphones and join a monastery in the Himalayas?
I don't think it's necessarily about, abandoning technology or the modern world altogether. It's more about finding a balance, recognizing that there's more to life than just the pursuit of material wealth and external validation.
So it's about, cultivating our inner lives,
Mm.
finding meaning and purpose beyond just, accumulating things.
Precisely. It's about exploring those deeper questions about who we are, why we're here, what truly matters in the grand scheme of things. And KFK seemed to believe that those questions would become increasingly important as humanity faces the challenges of the coming decades.
Yeah, I'm starting to see the connection. If we're potentially heading towards a future filled with war and disaster and maybe even a simulated reality.
Yeah.
It makes sense that we'd need something more than just, the latest gadgets and social media trends to keep us grounded.
Right. Exactly. KFK's predictions, whether they turn out to be true or not, serves as this like powerful reminder of the fragility of our material world and the importance of nurturing those aspects of ourselves that, transcend the physical realm.
Yeah, it's like they're urging us to prepare not just for like external challenges, but for internal ones as well, to build resilience, not just in our infrastructure and technology, but in our hearts and minds.
That's a great way to put it. It's about cultivating this sense of inner strength and purpose that can sustain us through, difficult times, regardless of what the future holds.
Okay, so let's say, for argument's sake, we buy into this idea of a global spiritual shift. What would that actually look like? Would we see like a decline in organized religion, a rise in alternative spiritual practices, or something totally different?
It's hard to say for sure. KFK was pretty vague on the specifics, but they did mention that all religions would eventually like merge into one after the quote truth of the universe is revealed.
Wow, that's a pretty bold claim. So we're all going to be united under one universal belief system. What would that even look like? And what is this truth of the universe that's supposed to like bring us all together?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It could be like a collective realization of our interconnectedness, a deeper understanding of consciousness, or maybe even contact with other forms of intelligent life. Who knows?
Okay, now we're getting into some like really mind-blowing territory.
Yeah.
So to bring this all back down to earth for a minute, what are some like tangible steps we can take now to, prepare for this potential spiritual shift?
I think it starts with cultivating a sense of like curiosity and open-mindedness, being willing to question our assumptions, explore different perspectives, and embrace the unknown. It's also about, nurturing those practices that connect us to something larger than ourselves, whether that's through meditation, spending time in nature, creative expression, or, acts of service to others.
So it's not about finding all the answers right now. It's more about like embarking on a journey of self-discovery and expanding our capacity for, understanding and compassion.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of KFK, we're left with, well, probably more questions than answers.
Probably. Yeah.
We've explored their claims of consciousness-based time travel, their predictions for the future, and the mind-boggling implications of their very existence. But ultimately, it's up to each of us to decide what we make of it all.
Yeah, I think KFK's story really serves as this like catalyst for introspection, a springboard for exploring the boundaries of what we believe to be possible. Whether they're a genuine time traveler or just a masterful storyteller, their narrative has, ignited our imaginations and challenged us to kind of re-examine our place in the universe.
It's a reminder that the future isn't fixed, that our choices today can shape the world of tomorrow. And perhaps, most importantly, it's a call to cultivate those inner qualities of resilience, compassion, and open-mindedness that will serve us well, no matter what the future holds.
Indeed. By embracing curiosity, engaging in critical thinking, and nurturing our inner lives, we can create a future that is not only technologically advanced, but also, spiritually evolved.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the enigmatic world of KFK. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your minds open to the infinite possibilities of the universe.